Greetings, YouTube. Most people don't think about it, but all the stuff in our universe, all the things that we interact with, including ourselves, were made inside stars, starting with nothing but helium and hydrogen, and using heat and pressure. All the matter that we perceive in the universe was created inside stars. I don't know about dark matter, I'll be honest about that. I'm not up on the latest research on that. But all the stuff that isn't dark was made inside stars. So I guess you could say that stars are the greatest alchemists there are. But to the best of my knowledge, the people that hold the number 2 slot for alchemy is us. Humans change things. It's what we do. Whether it's taking materials that we find and making them into something else, or like this right here, taking an animal that was larger, more dangerous, and wild, and turning it into a domesticated pet. And occasionally, in some cases, a bit of a mouser. Not mine, of course. My cats literally did not know what to do when there was a mouse in the house. We change things. And this book, here we go, Shrinking the Cat. Wow, that's really bright. I could use this as a white level card. Shrinking the Cat, Genetic Engineering Before We Knew About Genes by Sue Hubble, author of A Book of Bees. I'm actually, they may look up more of Miss Hubble's book, because this was quite well written and interesting and not overly wordy. It wasn't a very long book. And with the controversy of genetically modified foods being everywhere, everyone's talking about genetically modified foods. It's important in my mind to remember how much we have changed the world around us without the use of gene splicing and viruses that allow us to sever genetic chains and then insert new gene sequences into life forms, whether it's plants or animals, or creating chimerical creatures where we fuse animal and plant genes into the same being. The changes we've made are pretty profound, and this is one of them. Wild cats, for the most part, are much larger than our domestic cats, and it could be argued, I think, that humans and cats domesticated each other. But we wanted smaller, cuter, more docile cats. So over time, we chose the cuter, smaller, docile cats and got rid of the ones that weren't. This is what we wanted. Of course, in the process, we made them worse ratters, because as we were domesticating the cats, we made them smaller and cuter, and as the rats adapted to our environment, they got larger over time until the cats and the rats are so similar in size as far as hunting parameters are concerned. Cats won't hunt rats. They're too big. They'll still hunt mice. And people get very dissatisfied with cats. But besides talking about cats in this book, the author also talks about other forms of life that we have modified drastically. She talks about corn, which has become a monoculture in our world, and if we were to disappear tomorrow, so would corn. Wild varieties from like the heritage varieties would continue to survive, but there aren't a lot of those left. But those vast fields of corn out there that are so ubiquitous in the bread basket of America, gone. And the apple, we have not only changed the apple over time, but we are still coming to understand what the apple is. This is the fascinating thing I didn't know about the apple. This comes in this book. That we have 26 genes, 26 chromosomes, and 46 genes. Okay, so if you're gonna have a child, half come from the one parent, half come from the other, which makes us. Some species of apples have 17, giving them 34. Okay, that's reasonable. You'd think, okay, it's a plant, probably less complex than a human. You'd be wrong. Some of the species of apples out there don't have pairs. They have triples or quadruples. And there are even some that have hexaploid structures. So 84 genes, which is an unbelievable level of complexity. In fact, apple genes are so complex, we don't actually grow apples from seeds. Because every time you plant a seed of an apple, you're going to get something brand new. We clone them. We find a tree that we like, we take a branch, we stick it onto another tree, and that's how we get the fruit that we want, and not some random selection of apple genes being thrown at us, because most of them are going to fall into what we would call the crab apple variety, things that we don't want to use for pies or hand eating. Now, interesting is that you can still make cider from these type of apples. And you remember the old legends of Johnny Appleseed planting apples everywhere he went? He wasn't planting apples that were going to become hand apples or pie apples. He was planting apples that would become cider. But because the genes are so complex, at random, you will get apples that are tasty. But you may find a tree. And that's where we got Golden Delicious, Red Delicious, and Macintosh. Some random tree, like in the back section of some pasture that had been left alone for 100 years. Someone just stumbled upon the thing. Oh, this is a really good apple. Took a cutting, and that is where we get them. Now, they have bred over time good tree stalks, which they breed just to be the stalks for the clone branches which are attached to them, because they want stalks that are nice and strong, that are nice and vertical. You don't want bushy, really bushy style, multiple stem kind of plants, which you can get in apples. There are apple species that just give you multiple stems like a bush. You want more of a single stalk that you can just tack on all the branches that you're cloning. So all the apples you eat are clones. Just get used to that idea. And the other animal that she discusses in this, which is in a entirely different type of life form, is the silkworm. Because we have changed the silkworm to the point where they are so large and fat they can't fly. Silkworms are another creature that if we were to disappear tomorrow, they would join us. They are helpless. We have bred them to be incapable of finding food on their own, incapable of flying. They can barely move around on their own. We've bred them just to produce silk, which is when we kill them. Because to produce silk, you have to wait till they make a cocoon, and then you boil them alive. And then you unspin the silk. Yeah, that's silk is not an industry that is friendly to animals. And if you're not okay with that, don't wear silk. Silk definitely falls outside the category of vegan. Then again, so does wool, which is sad because I love wool. No, I'm not vegan. I wear wool. I wear silk. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind boiling insects. At the point of the author, over the course of the book, and it's very interesting and very detailed without getting too long in the tooth, is that humans change life. It's what we do. And so I don't think everyone should be panicked about GMOs. I know I'm not, particularly since there is zero research that they're dangerous. And we'll gather more over time. But we're creating life forms, particularly plants, which are going to be hardier. You need to use less pesticides with them. They'll grow in places you can't grow, that provide us with nutrients that they don't normally provide us with nutrients. That we're saving lives with the modified plants that we're growing, that we're using fewer chemicals that people are so upset about when it comes to pesticides and herbicides. In my opinion, it's one of the marvels of our age, and I look forward to the future of more advances in genetic engineering, and I always have. I am pro-science. I am also a transhumanist. So I think that life is a tinkering box that we should be exploring to the best of our ability. And I'm not afraid of the life that we are modifying and changing, because so far we've done it pretty well, and we've done it safely. But if you really want to know about how we have changed life prior to the use of splicing viruses and things like that, this, which is really bright, Shrinking the Cat, is definitely a book that you're going to want to check out. I know I just rambled here, but this has really got me thinking about how we've changed life. And she talks about so many interesting facts about how we have modified rats because we're providing them a perfect environment, and modified cats over time, and we've changed dogs, and how we've modified apples and corn and silkworms. And it's all so interesting, and the author really brought it all to home in an entertaining manner. So don't look at the book again because it's just too bright. I definitely recommend Shrinking the Cat.